crucial link that would connect the hacker with the traders. By this point, the scheme was running very well, and this group was making a lot of money. Take the Dendrion Corp stock, for example. So this is a big biotech and pharmaceutical company based out of Seattle, and on August 3rd, 2011, PR Newswire uploaded a press release for Dendrion onto their server at 3:34 p.m. At 4:01 p.m., less than a half hour later, and 1 minute after the stock market shut down for the day, the press release was made public as Dendrion. 4 minutes before it went public, at 3:56, if you dig a little deeper, you find that they purchased them through EDGX using a brokerage account registered to Arcady. When the press release went public on October 24th, as planned, the price of the stock in Caterpillar Inc. shot up exactly as the traders thought it would. On that very same day, the traders sold their shares and made a profit of more than $648,000. The group didn't stop there. On January 25th, 2012, Caterpillar gave another press release to Newswire, and this one said the company's profits were up 36% from the year before. And just like what happened this press release was uploaded to PR Newswire, the traders. So this scheme was becoming a pretty well-oiled machine of securities fraud. Two distinct skill sets coming together to make millions of dollars, hack into companies and steal press releases, and then make trades based on that information. With each new press release, it was a potential big payday for them. And with so many press releases, it was just rinse and repeat and reap the rewards. Ivan didn't know who Arcady was hiring to do the trades. At least I don't think he knew. And I'm fairly certain the traders didn't know who the hackers were either. And there was this layer in between. Middlemen, if as a messenger and go-between, like Pavel. Now, according to The Verge, it sounds like Oleg called his friend Vadim, and together they figured out what this whole scheme was, and they wanted in. They hacked into one of the news wires themselves and cut Ivan's access off. They just chucked him out and sat in there themselves. So this newswire was completely unaware that they've been hacked twice now by competing hackers, with one hacker being locked out and a new set of hackers being put in his place. Ivan had a big problem. He lost access to a big source of these very valuable press releases, and worse, his own friends were sitting there instead. He tells his middlemen, who deal directly with the traders, what happened. And safe to say that no one on that side was pleased to hear this, so a new deal got made. Oleg and Vadim's little takeover stunt worked, and they both got brought into the fold. The traders were happy again. The more hackers means the more press releases and the more chances to make money. Ivan, though, was not so happy about this change. Now he had to split his share with these other two, compared to just having it all for himself. He wasn't the sole hacker anymore, and that means a big hit on his profits. While Ivan's distracted by his friends hustling in on the scam, he didn't have them firmly in their sights. Working in tandem with the U.S., Ukrainian intelligence services put surveillance on Ivan. What triggered them initially to find him exactly, I don't know. But by watching Ivan, they found out pretty quick who his friends were. And 8 months later, with the help of the FBI and the U.S. Secret Service, 9 properties in Kyiv were raided. Both Ivan and Oleg's laptops were seized in the raids. And these were the laptops the two hackers were using to access the newswire systems. There were hundreds of stolen press releases on them, and reams of online chat logs, which gave the feds clear insight into the whole operation. A big success, you would think. But then it all went silent, like eerily quiet. Nothing happened at all for a while. There was evidence that they had identified culprits, but nothing went any further. You see, Ukraine has laws in place that prohibit extraditing their own citizens to another country. Under the Constitution of Ukraine, citizens are guaranteed care and protection. So Ivan and Oleg were, at least for the moment, safe from U.S. authorities, and they knew it. So they did what all money-hungry hackers do. They carried on with the scheme. Pavel sent his brother Arcady a spreadsheet of 18 companies due to announce press releases. Arcady sent it to his business partner Alexander. Across the rest of October, Vitaly, Arcady, and Leonid all made large trades on 6 of these companies right before the releases were published. But the traders were sending the hackers their shopping list of press releases. In October 2013, a company called Align Technologies sent their press release to Market Wired. I guess Market Wired changed their name from Market Wire to Market Wired, just to be confusing. But for Align Tech stock, in that 15-hour window between when the press release was uploaded to when it was made public, Arcady had purchased 91,000 shares. 2 hours after Arcady's trades, Vitali pops up and buys 95,000 shares. And after that press release went live to the public, the pair unloaded their positions and made about $1.4 million in profits. This scheme was on fire and seemed to be doing better than ever. The traders were making enormous profits on this insider information, and the hackers were happily getting paid a percentage cut for every trade. Everyone was happy. Now, Arcady had been in on this from day one, and he decided he'd kind of like to expand this a little more and make more money. Money is attractive, right? And so I think he was taken in by the allure of all the also were charged with the same 23 charges. Along with the criminal charges in the 2 indictments, the SEC also filed a civil complaint against Arkady, Pavel, and Igor Dubovoy, Ivan and Oleg, Vlad and Vitali, and Leonid and Alexander. And that complaint also charged another 23 individuals and companies who had been trading on this stolen information. It sounds like those in on the scheme couldn't keep quiet and were telling others to do some trades too. Mary Jo White, the SEC chair, explained more at the press conference.
While the SEC has uncovered and successfully litigated hacking and trading schemes in the past, today's international case is unprecedented in terms of the scope of the hacking at issue, the number of traders involved, the number of securities unlawfully traded, and the amount of the profits generated.
A total of 7 people were arrested that were involved with this scheme, and pretty quickly people started admitting to guilty pleas. Alexander, Arkady, his son Igor, and Leonid all pled guilty, but Vitali and Vlad both stuck with saying they weren't guilty. These 2 traders were trying to say that they had no idea the fine. Vlad was jailed for 4 years. A year later, in 2019, Leonid was sentenced by a New York judge to 3 years of supervised release and was ordered to pay $1.3 million and do 100 hours of community service. A month later, Alexander was sentenced to time served. Alexander gave evidence against Vitali and Vlad during the trial, which the judge found especially compelling, according to a news report. Alexander cooperated with authorities after he was arrested and aided their investigation into the scheme and how it all worked. Vadim was the only hacker to be caught by U.S. authorities in this scheme. He was arrested for credit card fraud through hacking, but the feds soon linked him to Oleg. Vadim pleaded guilty in May 2016 and took a plea deal. He admitted personally to hacking all 3 of the newswires and stealing employee credentials. He also admitted to selling the information he stole. A year later, he was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison with a 3-year supervised release to follow. He was ordered to pay restitution of just over $3 million. Arkady and his son Igor, from what I can see, they're still awaiting sentencing. After their guilty pleas, everything just got delayed because of COVID. The authorities said that there were a total of 32 people involved with this scheme in some way or another. 7 got caught and were found guilty that we know of, but 3 key players remain in the wind. The hackers Ivan and Oleg, Arkady's brother Pavel. All 3 are suspected to be in Ukraine, which is sort of protected from the long arm of the U.S. authorities. But the U.S. Secret Service has put a $1 million reward for the capture of Oleg. Supposedly after this, Oleg went...
Доброго вечора, ми з України.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Risky Business, your weekly information, security news and current affairs podcast. My name is Patrick Gray, and we've got some special guest intro music this week. This is Good Evening, Where Are You From? By Ukrainian duo Pro-Basin Party, and I just wanted to acknowledge and congratulate all of our Ukrainian listeners on pushing the Russian military out of all of Kharkiv Oblast, quite sort of unexpectedly, at least as far as the rest of the world is concerned, and good job. This week's show is sponsored by Stairwell, and I got in the weeds with its founder and CEO, Mike Wyasek, last week, and we've recorded a YouTube product demo, which is now live. And if you're a business, you should definitely...
And the one that's happened in the last few days was having a system that manages people crossing the border into and out of Albania, and border crossing points around the country have been stopped for a couple of days because this particular system, the Total Information Management System, great name, was under attack and offline. Obviously, this kind of conflict between Albania and Iran, for those of us that are not familiar with the politics in a region like me, it really did come out of nowhere, and we've got some kind of follow-up background stories about this. About the reasons why this has kind of unfurled how it is. There's some Iranian political resistance, kind of opposition that's been located in Albania for a while, and it sounds like that's the one of the key interests of Iran, in its neighbour Albania.
I mean, yeah, they were planning some sort of conference in Albania, and that's when all of this kicked off. And there were even, bomb threats and stuff called in. The conference had to be abandoned.
Yes, and that obviously particularly great for Albania.
So I'm sure we're going to be talking about this one again. But look, that's not the only Iran-related story that we've got to talk about this week. There is some really interesting research out of Proofpoint, actually, about a phishing campaign being run by APT42, aka Charming Kitten or Phosphorus. And they're calling it like multi-persona phishing, but it's very, very clever, which is that these attackers are basically spoofing emails from multiple identities into a thread. So, I might get an email from you that says, hey man, can you check out this attached document, don't forget to run macros, and then I might get a reply into that thread from someone else I know saying, yeah, I had a look at it, all looks good, blah, 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 right? So it's a way of injecting some social proof into a phishing campaign or a spear phishing campaign or do you even call it phishing when it's malware?
Phishing with code exec.
Yes, code exec phishing. So anyway, the idea is to get some social proof into these threads.
Place in this case. Do that sort of thing. So, it's more work, right? And I guess it's an indication that the targets they're going after are valuable. In this case, people involved with nuclear research and stuff like that. That's is a valid target for them, and that they are willing to go and spend the time and the effort to do a good job.
I don't know if it's that much more work, man. Sending 2 emails instead of 1 seems like, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a serious speed bump for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, doing the bare minimum that works and so used to such low effort campaigns.
Whoa, hold up, look at these guys, really working hard with their 2 phishing campaigns. Yeah. But, anyway, have a read of the write-up from Jonathan Greig in this week's show notes. It's pretty interesting stuff. And Mandiant's also released a bunch of info on another APT42 campaign, and there's a link in the show notes there as well. But yes, the Iranians have been very busy. Now, we've seen some interesting comments from a DOJ rep at the Billington Cybersecurity Conference this week, Adam, and they've been talking about their decision. As when the Hacnium campaign happened, right? There were web shells on Exchange boxes everywhere, and the DOJ went up getting a warrant to go and log into infected machines and actually nuke the web shells. And there's been a bit of discussion about that at this conference. Interesting stuff. And the State Department in the United States has suggested that its megabucks for snitching campaign is actually starting to pay off. Now they have a policy where they don't confirm whether or not they paid anyone, but they basically said, well, this thing is bearing fruit, I think is what they said, right? So perhaps someone got their snitch bucks.
Yeah, I mean, the level of disruption you get from just having a program like that in place, and what that means for how people have to operate if they're worried about being snitched on, I mean, that's enough disruption in a way, but if they've actually found some people who are snitching and they paid out and maybe got some results from that, then, it seems like an excellent plan and it's working great.
Yeah, this story from Suzanne Smelly at Cyberscoop seems to suggest that Conti is a likely victim of snitching in this case because everyone hates them.
Yeah.
We've got another write-up here, another one from Jonathan Greig. It's a write-up based on a report or a blog post from Chainalysis talking about the seizure of $30 million of crypto from big North Korean attackers involved in the Axie Infinity crypto heist. I mean, it's interesting. It's a little bit vague in terms of the precise mechanics of a lot of these seizures. And also, a lot of this money has gotten away as well. But the fact that anything at all is being clawed back is significant. I don't know that there was much there's much to be gained by talking about the testimony. But we did get one interesting little bit of info here, which is at the time that his disclosures first were made public, they said that he had written that there was an infiltration among Twitter's ranks of someone from an intelligence agency, but we didn't know which intelligence agency it was, and there were some people out there saying, oh, he's getting confused because this was a regulatory thing in India, and maybe it was someone from the Indian government, and Twitter's suing the Indian government to get around these regulations. Anyway, but no, he fronts the Senate Judiciary Committee and says that apparently the FBI alerted Twitter to an MSS, a Chinese MSS agent actually working there, which is, probably not what you want.
No, and given that the bulk of his complaints are around the lack of internal controls, lack of internal audit and access control, and the widespread access that people who work there have, getting someone inside there is a pretty natural way to go after it. So, kind of seems in the wheelhouse of the MSS. You'd expect them to in a way. So, not a surprise, but nice to have some things that actually specifically point to talk about rather than the place that we were last time.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because it turns out that when he let go from Twitter, they paid him out, and he collected $7 million in a payout when he was thing is because initial access brokers are these type of bugs in non-mainstream software. They found a way to monetize them, right? And I think we're gonna see a lot more stories like this one. That's why I want to talk about this one.
Yes, the idea that you've got 0 days or something, and to make your return on investment for whoever you've got that bug or whatever reason to find it, that really you want to compromise every one of those things once, and then try to monetize them. And IABs have come up with a business model of selling on with access to operators or whoever else. And I think seeing campaign like this, and this bug was in July, but there was no public proof of concept of the crowdsourcing were looking at this bigger campaigns. It felt like only one actor had access to this, to the exploit, and was then perhaps strong enough for people suggesting it might be. It really makes you focus on the time of patch and that patch gap of how quickly you can get patched, and also having to assume that every time you see a bug, regardless of whether it's a public exploit or not, if it's the sort of bug that fits the criteria, not quite ready to device, on the network, etc., that you kind of have to assume compromise now, which is a different.
I mean, this is not a new thought, right? I just think though that we're going to see, as I say, I just think we're going to see a lot more of this. Now that IABs are just so incentivized to get shells everywhere, why not sit down, do some research into some reasonably popular MDM solution that sits at the edge of enterprise networks, find a bug in it, go collect your shells, and then monetize.
Yeah, that's a good as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen ransomware operators kind of fiddle around with some ODA. Anyway, everyone will be one of the areas. Government has been ransomware. A Kentucky city-operated ISP has been ransomware. And some research out of Sophos, again written up on the record, that says the average payout with smaller organizations that get ransomware is like $200,000. So that's interesting that we might be seeing a bit of a pivot away from big game ransomware towards more of these mid-sized organizations where you can get yourself $100,000 instead of trying to shut down critical infrastructure and then $30 million.
Yeah, and then getting all sorts of trouble with various government spooky agencies stuff in the business. So yeah, smaller regional orgs are an easier target. This research also did say that remediation costs overall were down. They said perhaps insurance being more involved earlier, they get more experience responding to ransomware. So maybe that's a bit of good news. I don't know, but overall, if ransomware are up, they're making money.
Now, Adam, I've seen variations of this story across my desk pretty continuously over the last month or so. But I guess we should talk about one of them, which is that attackers out there are still using Log4j, still hitting VMware here, which is using vulnerable versions of Log4j because people haven't bothered to update it. And it turns out, there's still an awful lot of software out there that still uses the vulnerable version of Log4j. So this prediction that this was going to turn into a long-tail bug with a multi-year shelf life is proven to be correct, sadly. And in this story I got in front of me, it turns out that Lazarus Group, that the North Koreans are actually using this stuff as well. So yikes.
Yeah, Lazarus up in energy companies by their VMware bugs that should have been maxed out a while ago. It's not a great story. I keep saying this just because it is such a one of those things that does, the Windows is great, it doesn't look like it's making any money, so you can see Patreon is just it's a platform that handles a lot of it's things that people feel about, that they're supporting stuff they care about. It's a pretty engaged user base, and I can see them backfiring perhaps more than they expected, just because it is, it's a strange company in the sense that, what sells is not normal. Whether they've managed to outsource everything successfully, or whether they've got enough, automated security scanning, maybe someone ordered an automated, red generator product that does it all magically for them, and that's good enough, but
I mean, Patreon got owned pretty hard back in the day too. I used to have a Patreon, and Risky Biz listeners were contributing to that. And I shut it down when we started making more money because I just thought, that's e-begging when you're actually making okay coin just seemed a bit morally wrong. But they got popped at that time, and a whole bunch of info leaked out. So they've already had this happen to them once, and you just really hope they know what they're doing.
Maybe the security team was so great they secured everything and now it's just requirements. That could be.
Now, Matt Burgess over at Wired has an interesting write-up on an anti-censorship system that's been cobbled together that allows people in Russia to reach blocked websites. Tell us about that, because it is kind of, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, this is a project called Samostat Online. It's a mechanism for circumventing censorship, and essentially it's a midway between a fast flux DNS bot platform and media syndication. So essentially articles from media sites that are being censored are published or linked to